This is Yana, but you may know her as Goldy Naps. Recently, she's been posting on YouTube and introducing herself with her real name. So it's come to her attention, some of you thought, that her government name was Goldy, and suddenly it dawned on her.
Y'all really don't know about me.
As you probably know from her previous videos, Yana believes no girl talk is complete without a fun drinky drink in hand. So today she's whipping up a spiked rosemary limonata, a deliciously delectable and perfectly refreshing drink for spring. So feel free to make one of your own to have something to sip on during the yap sesh. That looks delightful. Bottoms up, bitches.
Hey girlies, I hope you grabbed yourself a fun little drink. Let's get into it. Recently I realized I've never done any type of like Q&A, get to know me type of video, and then I was shocked that y'all don't know anything about me. We're mysterious over here. But y'all know in the previous Sip and Yap, I was talking about how I want to get better about sharing about myself on my platform. And I do think in my videos, I share like fun facts and things about myself, but I guess there's just not one like video that people can refer back to if they want to like learn about me and who I am. So today we're gonna change that. Welcome to the Q&A. So I asked y'all to send in some questions on Instagram. We got quite a few, and they're kind of organized into pretty general categories. Let me pull them out. Hold on, I have 700 million notes in my phone. Some of the categories we're gonna cover: family and background, content creation, my content creation journey, thoughts about content creation, a lot of hair questions, of course, questions about style, and then there's just like a miscellaneous category that we'll get into. So let's get started. First things first, we're gonna start with family and background. And the first question, what is my name? And by now y'all should know it because I've been using it in my intro. I've been using my real name in my intro. It's Yana. Y'all don't need to know my full government name. Why do you need to know that? But my name is Yana. I've been using it more frequently on my platforms, but I've been Goldy Naps on the internet since like high school, since before I even had a platform. See, I grew up in the era where our teachers would scare us into thinking that if we used our real names on the internet that we wouldn't get a job or we wouldn't get into college. So I just always used a moniker. I never used my real name, but now like the internet is my job, and I feel like tying your actual name to like your brand identity is important at this point as like the influencer space gets more established. So I do at some point think I should change my handles to my actual name, and then I guess y'all will know my full government name. But yeah, that's, you know, in the works, something I've been ruminating on. But my name is not Goldy, even though I have been called Goldy as a nickname, and I'm cool if y'all call me that, but it is in fact not my real name. My real name is Yana. Questions about race and ethnicity. I am a Asian girl. My mom is Black from the Bronx, and my dad is from the UK, babes. He grew up in London, but his background is Israeli and Russian. He was Jewish, has Jewish ancestry. So that's the T on that. I'm half Black, half white. I just generally say half Black, half white. I don't usually say Black and Jewish, but technically that would be my ethnicity, would be Black and Jewish. I think every mixed person is gonna view themselves and their identity differently depending on how they were raised and their environment and their background. I identify primarily with my Blackness, even though I will always say that I'm mixed if I get asked like what I am, but I identify with my Blackness because I was raised primarily by my mother. My father passed away like a decade ago. So my mother and my mother's family have had more influence on me than like the white side of my family that I don't really have a connection to. So that's the tea on that. But yes, I am mixed. Where am I from? Am I from Mississippi? So I was actually born in LA, but when I was like 7 or 8, my family moved to New York. I always say I'm from New York. I feel like if you wherever you spent the majority of your childhood / like where you went to high school, like I feel like that's where you should say that you're from. But I don't really feel like I have any connection to Los Angeles. Like I don't really know much about it other than the neighborhood that I grew up in. I did end up living in LA like later on in my life because I went to grad school at USC, but I say I'm from New York because all of my formative years were in New York, and I identify as a New Yorker because I feel like I have a New York upbringing. So yeah, I'm from New York. I'm not from Mississippi, but I understand why you would think that because I did live in Mississippi for like 5 years. I only lived there because my boyfriend was working there at the time, and I was initially figuring out what I was going to do because we graduated during COVID and moved there during COVID. And then I started doing content creation so I could work from home. And I just lived in Mississippi for the time to like support him in his career. I feel like Mississippi is overlooked and underrated. Like, I loved my time in Jackson. Like, the people of Jackson are like some of the best people in the world. Like, I will always hold Jackson, Mississippi like near and dear to my heart. I definitely plan on visiting consistently. Like, some of my best friends live there now. So I had a phenomenal time living in Mississippi. But you know, at a certain point I was like, I need to, what are you doing? Go sit down. Go sit down somewhere, Lou. Sorry about that. Had to be a dog mom for a second because the minute this little boy sees me doing work, he would act a fucking fool, okay? Eating shit he shouldn't eat. Licking stuff he shouldn't lick. But back to what I was saying. Yeah, Jackson, Mississippi is very near and dear to my heart, but it got to a point where I felt like living there was kind of holding me back career-wise, and I have a whole video on why I moved from Mississippi to Philly and that whole process. That was like the initial Sip and Yap video about like being in a long distance relationship now and the choice to move to Philly and all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that whole dynamic, there's a whole video about it. But yeah, I'm from New York and I'm not from Mississippi. All right, next question. Why do I speak French? I have made a couple of videos in French talking about why I speak French, but we're gonna talk about it right here and right now. Alors pourquoi pas répondre à la question en français? On va avoir des sous-titres, comme ça on peut traduire. Donc je parle français parce que je suis allée à une école française pendant presque toute ma scolarité. J'ai commencé en maternelle, donc j'avais 5 ans quand j'ai commencé. Et à cette époque, on habitait à Los Angeles, donc j'étais au lycée français de Los Angeles. Et puis quand on a déménagé à New York, j'étais en CE2. Et de CE2 au terminal, j'étais au lycée français de New York. C'était le programme scolaire français, ok? Donc tous mes cours étaient enseignés en français, ça veut dire l'histoire, physique, chimie, SVT, tout était en français sauf l'anglais, évidemment. J'ai aussi pris le bac S, OIB. Et oui, il y a des lycées français comme ça, partout dans les grandes villes, à Shanghai, à Hong Kong, à Sao Paulo, à San Francisco, enfin... It's like a French immersion school where everything is taught in French. Aucun de mes parents parle français, mais moi et mes frères, on parle français parce que, enfin, à cause de l'école. Mais évidemment, ça fait une dizaine d'années que j'ai fini le lycée, donc ça fait hyper longtemps que j'ai pas utilisé mon français couramment. Donc j'aimerais bien, en fait, aller habiter à Paris ou un pays francophone pendant quelques mois, et comme ça, je peux plutôt utiliser mon français plus fréquemment et puis pratiquer, parce qu'à ce point, je sais pas, mon accent, je le perds un peu, et puis aussi les anglicismes, it's a lot of them at that point. Alors j'aimerais bien juste pouvoir utiliser mon français plus fréquemment pour, you know, tune it up a little bit, because if you don't use it, you lose it. All right, next up, how old am I and how tall am I? I am 27 years old, but I will be 28 on June 4th. I am a Gemini. I know people hate Geminis or whatever, but I think I'm pretty flying cool. I don't know. Maybe it's just the Geminis we all know. And in terms of how tall I am 5'4". I'm not that tall, pretty average height. People tend to think that I am a lot taller than I am, but I think I just know my angles. But yeah, I'm not very tall. Next, does anyone in my family have my hair color? Yes. My older brother and I both have very similar complexion, hair color, eye color. We both have this kind of like sandy, blonde, brown hair. When we were younger, we had like platinum blonde hair and blue eyes, and like our complexion and hair color and eye color just got darker. We also had a younger brother who passed away, but his complexion and hair color and eye color were much darker than ours. So people always thought that we were half siblings, but no, I feel like with mixed kids, like you can come out any which way. With black genes in general, I feel like you can come out any which way. But to answer your question, yes, my older brother and I both have the same hair color. I don't know where it came from. I don't know anyone else in my family who has the hair color. My father was not blonde. Obviously, my mother, not blonde. My grandmother is very fair-skinned, and I was told that her hair when she was younger was like a reddish brown, but that's not really blonde, but she kind of had like reddish brown hair. So maybe that's where the gene is from, but I have no idea where it comes from. So, all right, next we're moving on to questions about content creation. Okay, first up, how did you get into content creation? When did you go full time? All right, I started like posting content on the internet in like 2018, I would say. I did a big chop back in 2016, and I don't know, I was just posting like selfies, and my hair was growing out, and I would get comments like, oh, how do you style your hair? What do you do to your hair? I probably had like 500 followers on Instagram. Like, I wasn't by any means thinking things was gonna go anywhere. But people started asking me about like what products I was using, that kind of thing. So I feel like by like 2017, 2018, I was like sharing what products I was using and making little tutorials on how I do like a high puff, or how I do a twist out, or a perm rod set, or whatever. And my following gradually started growing, but I was not making any money. Like, I didn't really know it could be a full-time job. And also at the time, my intention was not to be a content creator. So I wasn't really seeking out how to make money from my platform growing. At the time, I was an undergrad at Georgetown. I'm a history major and I was a journalism minor, and I had all intentions of going to law school. I had always thought I was going to go to law school because I didn't really know what other job I could do. Like, I love reading and writing, and I was like, well, I guess law is the choice for me if I want to make some fucking money. You know what I'm saying? So assumed I was going to do that. I remember taking the LSAT and being like, oh, actually, I will be miserable doing this job. I don't want to fucking do this job. And so I pivoted into doing journalism. So I went to journalism school at USC, shout out Annenberg. And I got my master's there in journalism. Now, when I got there, obviously I had all intentions of being a journalist. At this time, I think I had like 40,000 followers on Instagram. I didn't have any other platforms at the time, just Instagram. Still really wasn't making any money, like not enough money to like live off of. Maybe here and there I was making a few, like $100. Maybe the most I think I got out of like a brand deal or anything was like $1,000. But anyways, when I graduated from grad school, COVID hit. So a lot of the jobs that I wanted were like on hiring freezes, and I didn't have a whole lot of options. So my boyfriend was like, hey, like, I got this job in Mississippi. You can come to Mississippi with me if you want, and like figure it out, apply to jobs, see what you want to do. When we got to Mississippi, I got offered a job. And I do talk about this in my whole moving to Philly video, the previous Sip and Yap, but we're obviously reiterating it here. But I did get offered a journalism job, but they kind of wanted me to delete my Instagram because they didn't want me to ever have any conflict of interest or be like representing anything outside of the publication, or like just like a professional journalism platform outside of the job. So they were like, yeah, we want you to like delete that. And I was like, I think not. So I just decided I was going to try to pursue content creation for like a year. If it didn't go well, I could always, you know, go get a journalism job. But yeah, this was like end of 2020 is when I really started committing to like trying to make money off of social media. And like 2021 was like my first full year actually making content and living off of content. Yeah, that's how that happened. It was kind of out of necessity, by force. I don't think that I would have done it if I didn't live in an affordable place like Mississippi, honestly. I think I would have been too scared to fail. But everything happens for a reason, and that is why I'm a full-time content creator now. Next question, is content creation worth it? Fellow journalist here that's pursuing it and left the TV biz. I think content creation is absolutely worth it, depending on what kind of person you are. I think you have to know yourself. This job definitely requires you to be a self-starter. It requires you to be able to be creative on command, to set your own schedule, be okay with doing like everything yourself, be okay with learning how to be a business owner. Like, it's a process. I think there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. People only see like the product that we make, which is like the video, but behind the scenes, like there's such a huge learning curve in learning how to be a business owner that's very stressful. Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely say content creation is worth it. I think there are times where it's a difficult job, or more difficult than people would assume, but I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. I can tell you that much. Like, I love this job so much. It's creative and fun and exciting, and I can make my own schedule, and there's flexibility in that. So yeah, I absolutely would say it's worth it. Now, if it didn't take off in the way that it had for me, would I be saying that? I don't know, girl. If I was struggling to do it, or I had been trying to do it for years and nothing was, you know, popping off for me and it wasn't working out, would I say it was worth it then? Probably not. But I think, especially given the fact that, like, I started my content creation career in Mississippi, like no other creators around me, I can do that. Anyone can do it, babe. Anyone can do it, because that shit was actually very hard. Also want to note, because you mentioned that you're a journalist who left the TV business, those skills that you learn, especially as a broadcast journalist, are going to be so useful in content creation. Everything that I know about editing, writing a script, storytelling, all that kind of stuff really stems from my journalism experience, and it's stuff that I use every day. And when you think about like the time constraints that you have to like write a bosa or something, like you need to be concise with your script, you need to grab people's attention, you need to know how to get the right shots to convey what you're trying to say in your script, all that kind of stuff. Like all of that is very important, like a very important skill set to do in content creation. I don't think a lot of people have that background. So I would definitely say, if you already have broadcast journalism experience, like, babes, go for it. You're good to go. All right, what are the pros of doing content full time? Kind of touched on this already, but I think the fact that it is such a creative job is something that I feel like is a pro. The flexibility in the schedule, the fact that like every day doesn't really look the same. Like, it's a very fun job. I also think, like, we're gonna mention it, the income is quite nice. I will say though, it fluctuates a lot. That's just the nature of being a freelancer. But if I was kind of climbing the corporate ladder, I don't think that my income would grow in the rate that it has. But at the same time, there's months where, you know, I make 5 figures and there's months where I make 0. So, you know, it's really a toss-up. At the same time, you know, again, these all tie into the things of like learning how to be a business owner. You have to be disciplined in like putting money aside to pay taxes. Just because you're getting all this money doesn't mean that you can spend it all. The taxes are not taken out of your check. You need to be very diligent about putting that money aside, baby. You're gonna get hit by the IRS. And I guess, I mean, you didn't ask what the cons are, but I will say another con is like, you have to pay for literally every single thing in your life out of pocket. Like, there's no kind of like safety net or something like that. Like, if for whatever reason, there's no like paid maternity leave, there's no unemployment, there's none of that, there's no health insurance, like all of that is you, and everything is on you. So that can be a little bit like nerve-wracking, especially when you're kind of at the whim of these brands, and brands pay so late. They never pay when they say they're gonna pay. They will have terms that say, oh, we're gonna pay you in 150 days. And then they'll pay you in 365. So there's no guarantee of when you're going to get paid. So again, you have to be very diligent and disciplined to put your money aside when you get it and plan for the future. If you do not have a savings, like, I would not recommend doing this job. Like, I would have at least 6 months of expenses saved up before I decided to go full-time with content creation, because that's how bad it is when it comes to brands paying you on time. So yeah, you could be securing brand deals that are 6 figures worth of brand deals. If you don't get paid on time, what is even the point? Like, if the check is not in my account, if the money, the direct deposit doesn't hit, the money is useless. Like, I need to pay bills today, not in 90 days, baby. And then there's a whole lot of questions about feeling discouraged about content creation, how to stay motivated with content creation. So it seems like a lot of y'all are going through that, and I don't blame you. It's a struggle. Putting a lot of effort into videos and not seeing the results that you want to see from them, constantly comparing yourself to other people on the internet where you're like, oh my God, I put so much effort in my video, nobody's watching it. they did some little something and have 3 million views. How come I can't have all those views? Like, I feel like comparison is rampant in this industry because like you have to be on your phone to do your job, and so inevitably you're going to see other people's videos, see other people's stuff. I always tell myself to try to consume less than I create. That helps me to stay motivated. It helps me to stay creative. I only want to consume enough content to be inspired with my own ideas and inspired to try something new, not to the point where I'm doom scrolling and comparing myself to everybody and feeling like shit about myself. Also, if something is not working, if the trajectory you're on is not working, you're not seeing results, there is no harm in taking a step back, taking time away from content creation and trying to pivot. And my own YouTube is a testament to that fact. I have been trying to get some traction on YouTube for God knows how long. It has never happened for me. So I took a few months away from the platform and reevaluated the type of content I wanted to make, what made me excited. I felt like I got really caught up in like, oh, this is what everybody else is making and these are the kind of videos that are performing well for them, so I'll just try to make videos that are like those. And this shit was not, it was not popping off. And the minute that I took time away, really played around with the style of videos, played around with like how I wanted to like communicate something to my audience and found something that I felt like was authentic to me, that's when I feel like I have finally started to get traction on YouTube. So I think if you're making content from a perspective of, oh, this is what has worked for everybody else. I want to be a content creator. I see all these other successful content creators like trying to find the formula to be a successful content creator. Like, I don't think that that's the way that you should tackle trying to do this job. I feel like I always try to tell myself, like, what am I adding to the conversation? There's a bunch of things that let's say, like, I like to do my makeup. I rarely make makeup content because I don't feel like I'm really adding anything to the conversation when I make it. I feel like there's a bunch of underrepresented groups who have voices that need to be heard in certain spheres. I feel like in the textured hair space where I make fun and creative hairstyles for textured hair, like, I'm adding something to the conversation there. I am not that skilled of a makeup artist. I'm not doing like special effects work or anything like that. Like, what, girl, how many lip combos can I show you? So that is what I would say. Always try to make your content authentic to you. Try to ask yourself, what am I adding to the conversation, or what am I sharing with people that might change their perspective by putting this piece of content out? I think it's very easy to get caught up in this is what's popular and this is what worked for everybody else, so obviously it should work for me. That's not how it is. Also, I feel like it's a pretty common theme amongst content creators that have been successful that their intention was not to be a successful content creator. I feel like going into it for the lifestyle or the money, like that feels like a very difficult and stressful trajectory. I think you need to genuinely enjoy the process of making content, editing content, and doing that consistently. If that's not where you're at, and that kind of ties into like, is content creation worth it? It's worth it if you genuinely enjoy making content, if you enjoy what goes into that. So if you're not at a space where like you can hire a team who's gonna do all that grunt work for you, then no, content creation would not be worth it. And you can't get to the point where you can hire a team and all that kind of stuff unless you do the initial grunt work. Unless, girl, you're just balling like that and straight out the gate you can have a whole team or whatever. I guess if you're super rich, like, fine. But realistically, like, it's going to be more exciting and motivating when you're down about your content if you're making something that you're genuinely passionate and excited about. I have videos that flop every fucking day, girl. Every video is not gonna be a hit. We need to get that out of our minds, and I feel like I got caught up in that for a while. Every video needs to be better than the next. If I have a viral video, the next video that I have, it's gotta go viral, it's gotta do even better. No, you know what I tell myself? Just like you got a show that you watch, your favorite comfort show, every comfort show that you watch has filler episodes where the episode is just trash, but it's there. You know, you watch it or whatever, but it's not your favorite episode. It's not the episode that everybody knows and loves and talks about. Your content is also gonna have filler episodes. What's important is that you're consistent. You might have 10 flops. Once you get one banger, nobody gives a fuck about the flops. Everybody gives a fuck about the banger. And once you get one banger, I guarantee the views on the flops are gonna go up. I'm telling you, it takes one video to really change your life. And I think that you need to keep that in your mind when you're struggling with being motivated about content. You just need one video to really pop off and really like change the dynamic of your following, change the dynamic of your views, get a whole audience that maybe doesn't know about you yet excited about your content. So hey, keep flopping, flop after flop after flop. You just need one to do well. So let that guide you. If you're excited about your content, you're making content that you love, it's gonna happen. You just have to keep at it. But if you're not actually passionate about making content, then maybe step back and reevaluate why you're doing what you're doing. All right, next we're moving into all things hair. Okay, somebody asked, why hair? Why try to redefine the existing styles and go against the grain? And that is a great and fabulous question. And I feel like it's because I think that Black hair in particular has been tied to this narrative of being difficult to deal with, something that needs to be tamed, something that needs to be like hidden. I don't know. I feel like in general, even though we went through a whole phase of the natural hair movement being super popular, I feel like there genuinely has not been much change in how textured hair is viewed. Honestly, I feel like we're regressing. Y'all might have different opinions, but I feel like a lot of women are actually moving away from wearing their natural hair. And I think as someone who embraced it during that phase where a lot of other people who embraced it, I think it's hurtful to kind of feel like embracing your natural hair was a trend. And then the minute that it's not trendy anymore, people are like, oh yeah, it's actually still hard to deal with and blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna go get a relaxer. I'm gonna go do this, that, and the third, you know? And I fully believe that Black women should do whatever they want to their hair. I only have an issue with pushing the narrative that natural hair is difficult. And I say this all the time like a broken record. Natural hair is only difficult if you are trying to make your hair look like somebody else's. If you just wash your hair, keep it conditioned, let it do what it wants to do, natural hair is actually incredibly easy. I think the issue is that a lot of the time we try to make our hair something that it's not, and that's where you're gonna struggle because you're not just letting your hair. Lou. And girl, that's where you're gonna struggle because you're not just letting your hair be what it is. I think in the space that I'm in terms of natural hair, I feel like I just want it to be fun. I don't want it to be about, oh my God, it takes me 3 million years to do my hair and this, that, and the third. Like, no, like, let's just do some fun and cute and exciting hairstyles. Like, I feel like even making content about fun things that I'm doing with my hair helps change that narrative that like, oh, my hair is like an obstacle that I have to overcome or my hair is something difficult. Like, no, natural hair, textured hair is amazing. It can do so many things, and I won't deny the frustrations and the difficulties of having to learn to love it. I think that's just the way society has set things up, unfortunately, for Black women. Like, our hair is not the standard, and so all of us have to go through the process of learning to love our hair, which is extremely unfortunate and unfair. But I think once you go through that process of learning to love it, learning to accept that it's not a burden, it's a blessing, and there's so much that it can do. Like, I want to help push that narrative. So that's why hair. Okay, next question is how to get thick hair slicked back. I have lots of tutorials on how I slick my hair back, but the gist of things is you need to style damp hair, okay? Not soaking wet, not old dry hair that has a bunch of tangles in it, okay? Because when you're starting on old dry hair, it's gonna be knotted. It's just gonna be very hard to like slick it down. If your hair is soaking wet, it's not gonna dry, and you don't want to keep your hair wet. Like, that makes it prone to breakage. And also you don't want it to get mildewy and stay wet. We don't want that. And also when your hair is soaking wet, it makes it hard for like your gel to dry down. So you're going to end up having frizz. So what I do is style on towel dried, like damp hair after I've washed it. I do my slick back buns on clean hair personally. It again just makes your products work better if your hair is not dirty and doesn't have a bunch of buildup. So yeah. Damp hair. You want to work in sections, especially if you have type 4 hair. You can't just put the gel on the top and expect it to really be slick and sleek. You need to work in sections. On each section, add a little gel, gradually brush it down, slick it down into a little ponytail, okay? Once you've got your gel on and in there, you're gonna layer your edge control on top, even on top of where you laid your hair down, and then you're gonna do your edges. If you really wanna lock it in, you wanna add like a strong hold hairspray, and that'll help lay down any little flyaways that are flipping and flopping all over the place. Last step, it's highly, highly recommended. Honestly, it's required. You need to lay everything down with a scarf, and you need to keep that scarf on until all the product dries down. Okay, you want it to be rock hard, rock solid. Not everybody likes when their hair is hard, but that's how you have a super slick back that doesn't get frizzy during the day. Like, the product needs to dry and harden down to like stay super slick throughout the day. So those are all of my tips for slicking down your hair. I hope that's helpful. I definitely have some videos that you can go watch, but yeah. Then we have a couple of questions about like how my hair was taken care of when I was younger, and then my own personal natural hair journey. In terms of my hair when I was younger, I had it relaxed and straightened all the time. I grew up never going to a hair salon. Like, my mom did my hair for my entire life. She is not a professional, okay? We were using Just For Me as my relaxer, slapping it on all of my hair, not just touching up the roots. So like, my hair was just like super weak and brittle. Also, like, the most textured part of my hair is like the back and the crown, and the back and crown of my hair just always had so much more breakage than the rest of my hair. Like, I was damn near like bald headed in the back, and then the rest of my hair that has a looser texture was like longer, but like my hair was always uneven. It was never like taken care of professionally. So I never had any like real education on like how to take care of my hair, because my mom was just doing my hair. And so yeah, like my straightened hair like never really looked good for real, like, because it was never healthy. And to me, like, good hair is healthy hair. Like, any texture, your hair is gonna look good if it's healthy. So I got to a point when I was going off to college, because my mom was like very particular about my hair. But once I was like, oh, I'm getting out of your house, I was like, I'm gonna do what I want with my hair, and then I cut all my hair off, and then she was like crying. But yeah, honestly, I was just like, I can't, like, my hair's falling out, breaking off, it doesn't look good, I don't want to do this anymore, babe, like, just cut it off. And then in terms of my hair journey, like, no, I did not always love my hair. In fact, I grew up hating my hair. Was very happy to have it relaxed and straightened. Did not want to see a single kink or curl. But I also think like the hatred of my natural hair was like imposed on me by my family as well. Like, no one in my family was wearing my natural hair, and I think the reaction that I got when I started growing out my natural hair like really showcased like how much my family was like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, why is everybody crying just because I cut my hair? Like, and they were convinced that, oh, you cut your hair, like, you're gonna be bald headed forever. I was like, I don't think that's true. Like, hair grows if you like take care of it. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be bald headed forever. But they were like convinced that that was gonna happen. I just feel like, again, like, these are just things that we need to unlearn. Like, just because your hair is textured doesn't mean it's not gonna grow. Black women's hair does grow, okay? Like, we need to learn that. Also, you don't have to have long hair. Like, short, healthy hair, I think, is better than having long, damaged, brittle hair. So, yeah, did not grow up loving my hair. I had to unlearn a lot of kind of internalized anti-blackness for sure, because I think, like, the dislike of textured hair is definitely rooted in anti-blackness. Like, we can be honest about that. So, yeah. I kind of just got to a point where I was like, my hair like looks and feels like shit. Like, we need to pivot and do something else. And there was already a movement of like embracing your natural hair and your natural texture. And I had no idea what my hair was going to look like when I cut it off and started to grow it out. And honestly, it ended up being a much coarser, tighter texture than I thought it was going to be. But hey, I was just happy that my hair wasn't breaking off and falling off everywhere. So it's definitely been a ride, but I love my natural hair. I wouldn't trade her for anything. Okay, next question. What is going on with the hair bundles? Great question, girl. So if you see me doing any hairstyle that requires an extension, at this point, it is braiding hair that I have developed myself with a manufacturer. I honestly developed it out of necessity because I got tired of the fact that there was no braiding hair that matched my hair color. I was braiding a bunch of bundles by hand, which was super time consuming and tedious. So it's actually a very crazy story how I ended up finding a manufacturer, and maybe I'll tell that once I actually launch the brand. But yeah, so I kind of teased that I was working on launching a braiding hair brand, and that is definitely in the works because I mean I just did things backwards because I developed a product that I needed, so I wanted the product regardless of if I was going to sell it. So now I just have a bunch of product, and like the actual branding and all the things that require like getting a brand off of the ground were not done. So now we're doing the things like figuring out a name, the brand colors, the website, all that kind of stuff is kind of in the works. And I'm hoping to like launch everything around the summertime, at least get pre-orders open. So yes, the bundles are still here. Like y'all see me using them in all of my videos. That is hair that I developed myself. And yeah, I'm really excited to get that launched because I feel like there's just so much room for growth there. Like there's so many colors that are just not available typically in beauty supply stores. I know I'm not the only person who struggles with finding their hair color. I feel like a lot of braiding hair colors are super standardized, and in my own research in looking into braiding hair brands, like they're not developed by Black women. So I just feel like there's maybe a lack of understanding of the variety of hair colors that Black women can have. So yeah, I want to help fill that gap. So that's something that we're working on and developing, and I'm super excited about, and I can't wait to make it available to everyone. Next category that we're moving into is style. We have a couple of style questions. The first one is, who are your style icons? Ooh, I haven't really thought about that. If I could think of a celebrity who I feel like their celebrity style like really inspires me, I would definitely say Tracee Ellis Ross. I feel like she just has a really like fun, eclectic, cool, laid back kind of style. I also really like Tessa Thompson's street style, but I would kind of group her and Tracee Ellis Ross in kind of the same space, or like they have the same vibe of dressing. So yeah, in terms of like celebrity style icons, I would say like the two of them kind of most closely match like things that I would wear. All right, we have a couple of questions about where I get fashion inspiration from. I feel like New York is always going to be a source of inspiration for the way that I dress. Like I feel like such a big compliment from people is like when I walk in a room and somebody sees my outfit and they just know that I'm from New York. Like I love that. But in terms of like, if your question was referring to like creators whose style I like or I'm inspired by, I definitely have a little list of creators. If I could pick anyone's closet like on the internet, it would be Skylar Marshai. I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. But everything she wears is a hit. Everything she wears is a banger. I'm like, I absolutely want all of these clothing items. Like the way that her and her husband, her boyfriend, her partner, the way that her and her partner put their outfits together and the way that they coordinate, just their style, their home, everything about the way that they like present themselves is so beautiful and stunning. So absolutely am inspired by the way that she dresses. Other people whose outfits I love, Maria Beltray, who has gone by Loose Unicorns forever on the internet. She was probably the first like fashion creator that I ever followed. I have been following her since like her Tumblr days. Like absolutely love the way that she dresses. She's also a New York girly. Honestly, I feel like all of my style inspiration or like creators that I find inspiring in terms of their style are from New York. The New York girlies know how to dress. They know how to dress, and I feel like everybody just has their own like individuality and way they put things together. So yeah, Loose Unicorns is another girl whose style that I like was good as well. I think her name is Alani, but yeah, have also been following her for like a very long time. I feel like stunning, chef's kiss. Love the way that she puts things together. Oh, State of Dallas, phenomenal outfits. Love her fits, definitely an inspiration. Two DMV girlies, Janae Naylor, obviously, used to be a high-low luxe. Like, just, I feel like she could put anything on and like make it look good. Like, she is the OG in showing us how to buy from high-end, low-end, put it together and make a fit. So love her stuff. Also, Kayla Cake, I would say, in terms of like people that actually do the due diligence and link items, like, if I see something that Kayla's got on, I know I'm gonna be able, and I like it, I know I'm gonna be able to find it somewhere in her LTK or whatever. So I very much appreciate the effort she puts into like actually linking the items that she wears, because you can be inspired and feel like, oh, that piece would look great on me, but girl, I can't find the link anywhere. That's not helping anybody. So yeah, thank you, Kayla, for always linking stuff, because I have definitely bought a piece or two from you linking something that you were wearing. But yeah, I would say in terms of creators, those are like the handful of people whose outfits I see and I'm always like, ooh, girl, where'd you get that? I love that. That's cute. That's a nice little piece. I would like to have that for myself. Absolutely. As a cart. So yeah, those are my style inspo. Then we have a question about my statement earrings and my jewelry. I get my jewelry from all over the place. I have so many accessories. I'm like an accessories girly. I love to wear 30,000 rings and do fun things with my earrings, necklaces. So I should probably do a jewelry tour to like give more in-depth information about all my pieces, because there's not one particular place that I buy my earrings from. But if there is one jewelry designer that I have like multiple pieces from, it is Justine Cronquet. I love her stuff. I feel like it just fits so well with my personal style. Every time she launches a collection, there's something that I fall absolutely in love with, and I have consistently bought her pieces for years. A few years ago, I went to Paris and I went to her pop-up shop in Paris, got a little exclusive piece. Like, I just love her stuff. So if a lot of the time the pieces that I'm wearing are from Justine Cronquet, so definitely go check her out. It's got like an edgy sort of punk type of vibe to it, and that is definitely something that I infuse in my own style. Last question about style is, how has your style evolved? I would definitely say it evolves by earning more money, babes. Yeah, because you can actually afford to buy some of the pieces that maybe you weren't able to buy before. Now, I do think like style doesn't come with money, but when you already have style, like, you can definitely elevate it with money and just put things together in a way that you wouldn't be able to if you couldn't afford certain things. But I feel like at its core, like I've already said that like New York really inspires me. I definitely dress more sort of like tomboyish. I definitely like try to have like a certain edginess to the way that I dress. So yeah, tying all those things in together, I think everybody kind of goes through a phase of like figuring out what their personal style is. And I think I'm at a point in building my closet or my wardrobe where it's like I kind of know what's gonna look good on me and what isn't. I think that there's things that maybe look good on other people, but I feel like learning not to buy things just because it looks good on somebody else is like a process. And yeah, so definitely like not buying things because they're trendy, and also learning like what actually looks good on my body and what fits on my body has been like a huge part of my style evolving, also on top of just like having the ability to afford a wider range of items. Now, I personally am not constantly buying designer. I've never spent more than $1,000 on an individual item, whether that be like clothes, bags, shoes, whatever. Like, I still feel like I'm in a space where like spending more than $1,000 on one thing is like crazy. Now, if you got it like that, you got it like that. But I don't know, I'm just a little bit more conservative with how I spend my money. That's just where I'm at in my life personally. Maybe down the road, you know, I'll be spending $5,000 on a bag, but I'm just not. I'm not there yet. Like, let me spend that on my health insurance, babe. Also, like, filling gaps in my closet, I think has helped, because I definitely have been through phases where it feels like I'm buying the same thing over and over again, and that's not helping anybody. So really making sure that you're like intentional with the way that you purchase things, and when you are purchasing new things, not just buying for the sake of buying because of a trend or buying because, oh, that's cute. Like, buying because, oh, I don't have anything like this and this would add to my closet. Also, I had to learn how to stop purchasing statement pieces because that was like an issue that I had. So yeah, just becoming a better shopper, having more disposable income to spend, and then like learning myself and my body and like what looks good on me is definitely how my style has evolved. All right, last but not least, we are moving into the miscellaneous category. First question is, what's something you are doing outside of your comfort zone? Girl, living on my own for the first time is something I'm doing out of my comfort zone. It's very uncomfortable and scary and just, it's been a process. So yeah, I decided to not live with my boyfriend anymore and live on my own for the first time. And that's just, yeah, but I knew that it was gonna help me grow and it was gonna be good for me. So I went ahead and did it, and we're learning lots of lessons. We're learning so much about ourselves, but yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. That's out of my comfort zone. Conspiracy theories that you believe to be true. Now, I feel like this is just true. I don't even know if it's a conspiracy theory at this point. I feel like there's enough suggestive evidence that would say it was true, but I definitely believe that our government intentionally put crack cocaine into Black neighborhoods. Like, that's not even necessarily a conspiracy theory, but I told y'all I was a history major and I loved studying the Cold War. I feel like that period in history just highlights all of the skeletons in the closet about our country, just really highlights like American individualism and the lengths that we will go to like uphold these American values that are honestly just like filled with hypocrisy. But long story short, yes, I do feel like crack cocaine was intentionally put in Black neighborhoods because just the way that everything played out with like the Iran-Contra affair and then like cocaine being imported into the United States, and then, oh, now we have crack cocaine, and also we're gonna make these laws that are gonna make it so that Black people are disproportionately locked up because they're the community that is selling and purchasing crack cocaine. Like that, all that, like, I just also feel like it's not a coincidence that it's happening at a time where there was significant progress within the Black community. I feel like that is like a constant theme of, even during the Reconstruction era, you have the Black community making significant progress after the end of the Civil War. And then historically, there's major events that happen that almost like make our community regress. I feel like that's the same thing. You have the civil rights movement happen, and then in the 80s you have the crack epidemic that has like had very lasting effects on almost all of our negative perceptions on the Black community. Like just the crack epidemic has had like devastating lasting effects on the way that Black people are perceived and portrayed in media. So yeah, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. There's so much that I could say about this, but that is, I guess, the conspiracy. I mean, it's true. Maybe the way that I'm phrasing it makes it a conspiracy theory, but I definitely think crack cocaine was intentionally put into Black communities to destroy and dismantle them. And it has lasting effects to this day. So I guess the government did what it intended to do. All right, next question. Any hobbies outside of tennis? Any tennis tournaments coming up? So tennis is like my main hobby. Honestly, I didn't really have any hobbies growing up. And when I lived in Mississippi, I didn't know anyone and had a really hard time meeting people. So my boyfriend and I started playing tennis together to sort of like put ourselves out there and meet new people, which was great. But I like fell in love with the sport. It's like the best thing that has ever happened to me. I've learned so much about myself playing tennis, and I cannot imagine my life without it. So that is the main thing that I do with my free time outside of work. Other things, like, I really love to cook and I really love to make drinks, but those are just things that I do like at home. It's not like I actively like participate in the tennis community like with other people. I love cooking, but it's just something that I do at home by myself. I'm not like hosting like dinner parties and stuff. Maybe I should because I do love to cook. But in terms of major hobbies, like at this point in my life, I would really just say tennis. But I'm always open to picking up a new hobby, so I might find something else to do. And then any tennis tournaments coming up? So not necessarily tournaments, but I have recently joined 2 tennis leagues. So the spring league is starting very soon. And then our last question is favorite snack or favorite cuisine. I am very, very open when it comes to food. Like, I will try anything once or twice, to be honest. So in terms of cuisine, I would say, like, I really do love ramen. Like, I love a good bowl of ramen. I love Japanese food in general. So maybe I would say that, but honestly, like, I love all food. I'm not picky at all, eat anything. So I definitely would call myself a foodie. And then favorite snack right now, I am actually loving like putting Ruffles into like onion dip. I actually did not know until very recently that people were actually dipping potato chips into dip. And when I learned this, I was like, oh my God, because who wants to keep eating dry ass chips? I love a chip with a little sauce on it, a little something going on, because chips are good. But a chip and dip just eats down, you know? And the only chip and dip that I was really ever eating was like tortilla chips and guac, or tortilla chips and salsa, tortilla chips and queso. But putting a potato chip in a dip, oh yeah, that's like my tea right now. Like, that's what I'm fucking with. So I'm not really a big snacker, I'm gonna be honest. I don't usually like buy snacks and have them in the house, or like if I buy a snack, like it's gonna be in the house for months and months and months, because I'm not somebody who just sits around and eats snacks. But also, I'm definitely like an ice cream girl. Like, that is something that does not stay in my home for long. If I buy some ice cream, like, I'm eating a couple little spoonfuls every night because I love a little nibble of ice cream after my dinner. So yeah, right now, potato chips and onion dip, and then ice cream. Y'all know I talk about Jenny's ice cream, I feel like every video, but Jenny's blackout chocolate cake has been like my recent obsession. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say in terms of snacks. But that is all of our questions for the day. I hope that you enjoyed the Q&A and that you love learning to get to know more about me, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.